grade, and welcome to your first library session during your homeschool. I'm so glad you are spending time with me today, and we are going to have a fun assignment. All right, today we are going to talk about the characters in some classic fables, and I want you to kind of think about how they act and think about what makes them a certain way. What makes them friendly? What makes them mean? What makes them unhappy? What makes them selfish? All right? Okay, the first fable I'm going to read to you, and I will link um, a link in your lesson plan. You can read along if you'd like. It is called The Dog and the Wolf. These two are Aesop fables. There was once a wolf who got very little to eat because the dogs of the village were so wide awake and watchful. He was really nothing but skin and bones, and it made him very downhearted to think of it. One night this wolf happened to fall in with a fine fat house dog who had wandered a little too far from the home. The wolf would have gladly eaten him then and there, but the house dog looked strong enough to leave his mark should he try it. So the wolf spoke very humbly to the dog, complimenting him on his fine appearance. "You can be as well fed as I am if you want to," replied the dog. "Leave the woods. There you live miserably. Why, you have to fight hard for every bite you get. Follow my example, and you will get along beautifully." "What must I do?" asked the wolf. "Hardly anything," answered the house dog. "Chase people who carry canes, bark at beggars, and fawn on the people of the house. In return, you will get tidbits of every kind: chicken bones, choice bits of meat, sugar cake, and much more, not to speak of kind words and caresses." The wolf had such a beautiful vision of this coming happiness that he almost wept. But just then he noticed that the hair on the dog's neck was worn and the skin was chapped. "What is that on your neck?" "Nothing at all," replied the dog. "What nothing?" "Oh, just a trifle." "But please tell me. Perhaps you see the mark of the collar to which my chain is fastened." "What? A chain?" cried the wolf. "Don't you go wherever you please?" "Not always." "But what's the difference?" replied the dog. "All the difference in the world. I don't care about your feast, and I wouldn't take all the tender young lambs in the world at that price." And away ran the wolf into the woods. Okay, so guys, what do you think the moral of that story was? Give you a second. Okay. The moral of the story is there's nothing worth so much as liberty. And another version of it says, better starve free than be a fat slave. Okay, so the moral is that a lot of people think, oh, you can't keep helping someone else and not be able to do what you want to when you want to. All right, and so a lot of times they're thinking of maybe there were kings and peasants and things like that, and other times where it's really better to be free even if it's a harder life. Now I want you to think about the characters. Which character was more foolish in your mind? Why do you think that? Give you a second. Now, it could be either. You could say, well, the dog is more foolish because he doesn't get to go where he wants. He has to constantly be chained up. And that's not a life at all. That's what the wolf thought. But then some of you may say, well, the wolf is more foolish. I mean, he could die tomorrow of starvation. And the dog is just fine. All right? Okay, next question. Which character is more greedy? Give you a second. Now you could say the dog is greedy because he gives up all these freedoms of venturing around the world doing what he wants just for food and safety. But you could say the wolf is more greedy because really a little bit of service in the household chasing people away is not worth just getting to wander around free to some. Okay? Which is smarter? Again, that's up to you. Depends on the life you want, right? If you want to follow someone else's rules but be happy and safe, that's one thing. If you want to do your own thing but take the chance of not finding food and not being safe, that's another thing, because there's always chances in every choice. Okay, so I'm going to do another one of Aesop's fables. Now this fable kind of has a similar moral. I want to see if you can guess what the moral is after I read it. It's called The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. A town mouse once visited a relative who lived in the country. For lunch, the country mouse served wheat stalks, roots, and acorns, with a dash of cold water to drink. The town mouse ate very sparingly, nibbling a little bit of this and a little of that, and by her manners making it very plain that she ate the simple food only to be polite. After the meal, the friends had a long talk, or rather the town mouse talked about her life in the city, while the country mouse listened. They then went to bed in a cozy nest in the heathrow, and slept in quiet and comfort until morning. In her sleep, the country mouse dreamed she was with a town mouse with all the luxuries and delights of city life that her friend had described for her. So the next day, when the town mouse asked the country mouse to go home with her to the city, she gladly said yes. When they reached the mansion in which the town mouse lived, they found on the table in the dining room the leavings of a very fine banquet. There were sweet meats and jellies, pastries, delicious cheeses, indeed the most tempting foods that the mouse could imagine. But just as the country mouse was about to nibble a dainty bit of pastry, she heard a cat meow loudly and scratch at the door. In great fear, the mice scurried to a hiding place, where they lay quite still for a long time, hardly daring to breathe. When at last they ventured back to the feast, the door suddenly opened, and in came servants to clear the table, followed by the house dog. The country mouse stopped in the town mouse's den only long enough to pick up her carpet bag and umbrella. You may have luxuries and dainties that I have not, she said, as she hurried away, but I prefer my plain food and simple life in the country, with the peace and security that will go with it. Okay? So what do you think the moral of that story is? It says the moral is, poverty with security is better than plenty in the midst of fear and uncertainty. Which is a very good moral. Because even if you don't have a lot, if you're safe, that's better than having all the things in the world and always being afraid of something. Alright, so for your assignment today, you are going to go on Flipgrid. Now, it's optional assignment because Flipgrid is an app you have to download. Okay, so you have to get your parents' permission and download the app. And then in the lesson, I'm going to give you a code, and you're going to put that in. And what Flipgrid allows you to do is tape a short video response using a phone or iPad or a computer with a camera. And this response is going to be to the question. Now, your question today is, I want you to focus on the story I just read to you, the fable, The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. Now, for that story, I want you to tell me, which character do you think is more foolish? Which character do you think is more greedy? Which character is the lucky one? And which is the smarter one? Okay? Now, when you answer, I want you to give me examples of why you think this. Okay? All right. That is your assignment. You choose to do it, and I am so glad to be with you for a little bit. Third grade, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of